Okay, for a moment, I want you to do me a favor and stop and think about the answer to the question I'm about to pose to all of you. Are you running towards or running away from what you do from a professional standpoint? Is your emotional cup of happiness filled to the brim or barely scratching the surface? Meanwhile, is your professional health intact or could it use an extreme home makeover? Could it use some tinkering under the hood? Or do you have a vision for the rest of your working days that will help you cross the finish line of both financial and personal fulfillment? Well, according to my friends over at CareerVision and the Harvard Business School, they found across America an estimated total of 45% of American workers admit that they're satisfied or extremely satisfied with the current state of their professional life, while only 20% admit that they are extremely passionate about what they do for their 9 to 5, while another third say they believe that they've reached a dead end in their career, and rounding out the survey with another 21% who say that they're eager to change careers entirely. For most of his adult life, my friend Taylor Rose has been running towards personal and professional fulfillment, literally. He's a former professional track athlete who is now a gym owner and an online coach. He pursued a professional track career after graduating with his master's in kinesiology and training with Olympians and world record holders. And now today, he continues to coach elite athletes and anyone who wants to optimize both their mind, body, and physical health. Considering the fact that he has trained a world champion MMA fighter, U.S. track and field athletes, pro basketball players, and your average Joe, Taylor's the perfect person to ask how we gain a competitive edge in life, on the track, in fitness, and so much more. So without further delay, my conversation with Rose starts right now. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. If you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend, and I'm super excited to talk to you about your health and fitness journey and your time as a track athlete. Great to see you and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, Taylor, I know that you have had quite the winding road of a life as a former professional track athlete. And now you're a gym owner, so I'm wondering, my friend, if we can start our conversation by you telling me why you love what you do and what makes you so fabulous, my friend.
Yeah, so basically got my track career started in high school, which developed into a college career, and just continued to pursue that passion because I fell in love with running, even though I thought I was going to be a basketball player. That didn't work out. As I was running, I had an opportunity to open up a gym with my dad in LA. So we linked up. I made the leap, moved from my hometown to downtown LA to open up this gym while also still training as a professional athlete. And learning business while also being a professional athlete was very humbling, fulfilling, difficult, but definitely a journey in life that has added so much value to me and stuff that I could help with other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Taylor, tell me, do you think there's a difference between competitive adrenaline and having a competitive fire? Do you think there's a difference, or do you think those two things are interconnected?
I would say that they're related. I don't think they're the exact same thing, but the competitive adrenaline, I think somebody can have as well if they have the fire, but I don't know if somebody can have the fire all the time, right? So the fire is something deep inside of you and something that you resonate with mentally on a deeper level than just the adrenaline of getting excited to do something, right? That you're going to be competing. Um, Competition itself, I think, is a thrill in and of itself, but the desire to be elite or win or just high level competition and to train for it, that's where the fire is really developed.
Yeah, and Taylor, to that point, do you think internal motivation internal motivation is something that needs to be lit, or do you think we intrinsically have the sort of fire to be internally motivated? What are your thoughts there?
I think that it's more like a dimmer switch. That fire can be raging at sometimes, and maybe sometimes it'll get as small as a little pilot light, but not you can't be motivated by other people. They can help you find your motivation, but you have to find it yourself. And when you start to find it, that fire can grow in size and get bigger. But if you don't have something that you're resonating with or have a purpose and the passion of doing something, that little fire is going to be really, really small, and it might be hard to get bigger and grow it. But if you find that purpose and passion, you'll definitely be able to grow that into a raging fire to push you forward in what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and even if you're part of what you want to do as a passion, how important do you think it is to constantly push yourself to be better, to sort of avoid the feeling of feeling stagnant? So, how important is it to constantly push yourself to be better?
I think it's really important to always see what your potential is, right? Recently, I had a friend recommend some shoes to me, and I'm like, how can these be better than the shoes that I already have? And I'm like, you know what, I'll just give it a shot. And of course, they were better. So I used to run in the Nike Infinity Racks because that helped with my plantar fasciitis. Then I got the new RN4s, which miraculously they're better. These companies are constantly doing things to improve just that tiny little 0.1, 0.2%, 1% to get the consumer to constantly want to buy it or be a part of their journey. Well, why can't we do the same thing? Why can't we establish a goal, hit that goal, move the goalpost to see what more we have inside of us to accomplish? If we just set something and hit the goal and we stagnate, we don't grow as a person. So I don't think it's bad to constantly move the goalpost to see how great of a person you could be, whether if it's athletics or academics or relationships. You need to be able to grow as a person throughout your entire life and not get stuck with, oh, I hit the goal, that's it. I'm just going to hang back and do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taylor, I wanted to talk to you about the concept of resilience, and I'll use myself for a moment as an example. Taylor, before we started recording, I shared with you that I was born with cerebral palsy, and I've dealt with it all my life, my friend. And I actually found out at the age of 9 that I wouldn't be able to walk without assistance for the rest of my life because of the severity of my cerebral palsy. But I always tell people that every portrait of success is different. So if I asked you to paint a portrait of resilience about your own life, my friend, how do you think you would want to construct the painting?
It would definitely be in finding your deeper purpose and passion. Just because you have one limitation doesn't mean that you can be extremely excellent in something else. So the resiliency comes from developing grit through trials and tribulations and overcoming them. And if you don't have the capacity to overcome them, it's because you're not truly trying to develop that resiliency or the passion to become great in some sort of aspect. you're a prime example. You had something that you had zero control over, and now you're doing your PT, you're running an amazing podcast, you are doing all these things to create an amazing platform for yourself, develop yourself as a person, and to continue forward each and every day just shows how much passion and resiliency you do have as a person. So when people need to develop that, they need to look at what is difficult and say, I can overcome it rather than trying to turn around and go back away from the problem. Sometimes it's just go head on and push through and see what happens on the other side.
Yeah, and for you personally, my friend, I'm wondering when the walls of life are sort of caving in on you, how do you return to a feeling of internal motivation to keep forging forward for yourself personally?
So for me, it's always looking at the bigger picture. I would say one of the biggest things for me recently was I had to retire from running due to injury in my back. I had a couple compressed discs that was causing spasms and cramps down my leg that resulted in me tearing my hamstring. At the same time, I had a 4-month-old daughter, and I was like, well, it might be time to hang up the spikes. And that was a tough time, but I was also a newfound father. I couldn't run. I actually couldn't barely walk at the time. And finding a new purpose was essential to building that resiliency. And now it's through helping others do just that. So I had a dark time during that period. It was like 3 to 4 weeks of like, what am I doing? I can't do anything. I can barely move and walk. And I had already years ago during a knee surgery thought I was never going to walk again. And a doctor told me that if I ran, I would have to get my knee replaced. So for me to go from such a deep level of competition to getting it torn away was really tough for me. And I could have let it eat me away, but I actually use that as motivation to pursue other things and helping others to make sure that they don't have to deal with that.
And yeah, how has your transition from business been aided by your athletic background? How do you think it's helped you, my friend?
Oh, athletics. So I would say more particularly in track because I ran the 400 and the 400 is one of the beastliest, hardest races beyond the 400 hurdles and probably the 800 right now. And every day is extremely difficult. But in business, everything is changing constantly and you're always having to learn. So the grit of being an athlete at that high level, training with, Michael Norman, Ry Benjamin, and Sidney McLaughlin, and all these world record holders, Olympians, and getting beat up every day by them made it really easy to run a business where you just have to learn and dive into encapsulating yourself with the business itself and pushing forward. Even though I might not know everything, it's just, hey, let's just get it done. Because I showed up at track practice every day. I can show up for my business every day too.
Yeah, and how have you developed sort of a competitive advantage or fire to win in business?
So it's a numbers game for me. The fire is making sure that the numbers are always improving. Just like on the track, you're trying to drop that time down. In business, it's the lifeline of your business is all of its numbers. So I'm looking at the numbers to see what's going on there. What can I improve on? How can I make the experience better for members? How can we get them stronger in the gym so they are super happy with everything? Make sure that they're losing weight like they want to, or developing muscle, or learning how to box a little bit better. I look at all these things as numbers, and it gives me a point that is that I can track to make sure that we're progressing over time, just like I would on the athletic field of trying to get faster. So I basically applied what I learned in track to do things for a performance basis and translate it into a number base off of like spreadsheets and results from my members here in the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taylor, tell me what do you think goes into developing sort of having adrenaline and that killer instinct to win both in life, business, and athletics?
So I think that is something that can definitely get triggered from a certain event in athletics or even in life where it's just like overdrive mode, right? Like it's time to go. This could be 10 seconds left in the game where you have to score to make sure that you guys win and you go to the playoffs or win the championship. There has to be a shift. And this can happen in life too. There's certain things that can happen in life where you have to make a shift where the killer instinct comes into play, and there is nothing that can stop you in your path to success. So this is going to be different for tons of people, and they have to figure out what it is that they're doing that will resonate to create that shift. And in athletics and in life, there is going to be a difference because athletics is a short term, right? It is a game. Life, the goal of life is to keep going. So you're always trying to keep that fire burning, get that killer instinct to come out when you absolutely need it.
Yeah, and Taylor, I'm a big believer in the power of reflection and always constantly getting better, and more so the last couple of weeks because my birthday is actually in 2.5 weeks, so I'm big at reflecting on where I am and where I want to go. So for you personally, if I asked you to construct a top three list of both fitness and life priorities, what factors do you think you would use to construct a list, my friend?
So I actually have the three F's, and these are foundational to me. These are like my core tenets, and it's family, fitness, and fulfillment. All right, family is your core. Whether you have kids or you have your parents or grandparents around you, aunts and uncles, that is who brought you up. Fitness is going to keep you healthy from a physical standpoint, but also you got to think of mental fitness too, right? And then the third F would be fulfillment. Is are you living a life that gives you passion and purpose? Because then you will feel fulfilled, and that's what makes you continue to take the steps needed to create more fulfillment and actually impact more people.
Yeah, so just building on that as well, my friend, I'm curious if you have a life motto or something you live by for personal and professional motivation.
I don't have a motto per se, but I try to live life with open ears, open eyes, and just actually resonating with what's going on and seeing how I can add value and also respond to situations in the best way possible. Be responsive rather than reactive, and make sure that I'm doing things that I'll be happy with 10, 20 years from now. If I look back, I want to say I was proud of what I did there and I grew from that, which created the man that I am today. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And, I know when you were going through your track and field journey, my friend, you had a chance to work with some record holders and some elite athletes, my friend, who you still work and train with today. So tell me about some of your favorite memories as a track and field athlete and how those experiences have sort of impacted your life still to this day.
yeah, so I had the amazing opportunity to train with some of the current top track and field, like 400-meter runners, 400 hurdlers. Like I mentioned earlier, Sydney McLaughlin was my first teammate in the pro world, and she's the current world record holder. And seeing her train and what she came to practice with from a mental and physical standpoint was insane. Same thing with Michael and Ryan Taylor, all these guys, Kendall, they had this unwavering dedication to reaching a goal that was not guaranteed because there's a ton of other people fighting for that same goal. I was fighting for it too, but I will be honest, I wasn't on that level. I was not on that top 10 in the US world or Olympic gold medal or world record level. But showing up with them every single day showed me that if you put your best foot forward every single day, you're going to grow as a person, you'll grow as an athlete. And that has transitioned into my life to make sure that I'm constantly pursuing the best version of myself rather than being complacent and satisfied with where I'm at and just coasting by in life. So they actually instilled this unwavering commitment to growing as a person through athletics, whether they know it or not. I've talked to a few of them about it, but it's unbelievable what they will do day in and day out to accomplish what they have.
And what do you think it means to grow through your goals or grow through athletics in your case? What do you think that means to you?
So that's constant growth, and it could be financial, it could be physical, it could be mental. So now growth to me is becoming a better version of yourself or a better version for other people around you than you were a year or 2 years ago. If you're not making steps forward with your mental or physical or your business or your family, you're falling backwards so far behind. And that will catch up to you real quick and you'll get left behind. So pushing the goalpost forward all the time, I think, is really important to make sure that you are growing as a person. And sometimes you need a coach to help you identify that. So I had a track coach, amazing. I have people that help me in business to push those limiting beliefs that I might have about myself. So it's always about growing in perpetuity to make sure that you're not leaving anything on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in your mind, Taylor, tell me, what does that mean to advance forward in life?
Finding your fulfillment, finding your passion. If it's helping people, if it's athletics, it might change year after year, but it's always finding something that puts a smile on your face as well as others. What you're doing should not be at the sacrifice of other people.
Yeah, and my friend, I know during your track and field career, you try to switch to becoming a vegan, but you realized that wasn't for you. So tell me about your nutritional journey on when you were an athlete and how those principles taught you discipline in your own personal life.
And so as a coach, I'm willing to do anything that may help my clients now. So I want to have personal experience. I'm not going to have anybody do anything that I haven't done. So one, I had dabbled in like paleo and keto. That was not it, but eventually I tried plant-based. I was 100% plant-based based off of one of my coaches wanted me to try it, and I was like, hey, I'm willing to do it. Did all my research, and for about 6 months, I was fully plant-based. It was enjoyable. I liked it. There were some things that I did not resonate with, like the manufactured meats, the Beyond patties and all that. Not healthy at all whatsoever. I did it for performance reasons. I don't hide that. I didn't do it for any ethical reasons. It was just something that I wanted to try to see if it did help and how it changed my body. But eventually I got to the point where it the packing of food or ordering out getting too expensive and all these small things added up to make it extremely inconvenient, and you have to supplement as a vegan without a doubt. You cannot live on a vegan diet and not supplement. You'll become deficient in certain micronutrients. So all of that plus not feeling the best after a while and the nutrition side of things getting a little bit tougher to properly fuel myself to run at an elite level made me decide like this might be it. And my shift, the one moment I still remember to this day, we were training at USC on the track for a few hours, and then we had to drive to UCLA to go use the weight room. And all I had in between then was a shake, and it was about an hour drive, and then another hour and a half in the weight room. So almost 5+ hours of training with very minimal fuel. And then we were going to go to the food court at UCLA to Wolfgang Puck because they had tofu bowls. Well, they were out. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm an hour away from home. I just can't eat rice and veggies. That's not going to give me what I need as an elite athlete to refuel my body. And I'm not just going to eat a whole bunch of protein bars. Like, that's not the best either. If I'm traveling for a track meet and they don't have food that I need, like, I'm stuck. I can't do this. Right. So I started to transition out after that. And I did enjoy it. It opened my eyes to new foods because I'm a total foodie. I love different foods, but I just realized that it wasn't sustainable for how much I traveled and financially to grab things on the go. It was just not it. So I decided to transition out of it back to just a more holistic, still was plant-based, but very high quality meats that I would get, and felt way better after that.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And from your perspective, if I asked you to create sort of a race of creating good habits, how do you think, from a nutritional perspective, people could cross the finish line of victory from a nutritional perspective if they're looking to sort of upsell or improve their nutritional habits?
So I like to add rather than remove at first. So if they're missing something or if they're not eating veggies or fruits or something, try to add that to the current meals. And it's a slow change, right? But once you start noticing how much better you feel, those changes become easier. And the biggest thing is I don't want you to get stuck with a diet. I don't like to label your eating as a diet. A diet should be the food that you consume. So there's a diet of I'm on keto or Atkins or paleo or Mediterranean. I'm on this diet versus my diet is and consists of these foods. You need to find out what those foods are that sustain your goals, your health, and you actually enjoy. That's where you'll get long lasting results as far as nutrition. And it can take some time. Some people just don't know enough about food to actually find all that out. So it's best to have somebody help you do it. And fine tuning the amounts of those foods and learning more about the volumes and all that kind of thing to make sure that the best nutritional strategy or diet that you're on is in line with growing as a person and becoming healthier. But it's not just, hey, I'm going to jump into this thing and do it, because the success rate of that, yeah, you might lose some weight or get stronger, but then you'll rebound the other way shortly thereafter when you stop doing it. So you have to find what you actually like and enjoy so it becomes lifelong. And I'm sorry, it's not going to be fried chicken and donuts all the time. Like, that's not going to be healthy for anybody. Can it work to lose weight? Yes. If you eat like one and that's it, but that's not what we want to do, right?
Mm-hmm. And you brought up the idea of moderation and doing everything within moderation. So, how do you look at the term everything in moderation? What do you think that means to you?
To me, that means when you want to enjoy something, you should have the capacity to enjoy it because you have been on point for 95, 99% of the time. And moderation is something that doesn't detriment you in the short or the long term. If you're doing something and you get a negative result immediately, that's not moderation. If you're enjoying something and it might bite you in the butt 5 years from now, it probably hasn't been in moderation. But this even goes for exercise. You can work out too much or you can work out in moderation, which actually keeps you healthy, sustainable, and long term. There's different varieties of how to moderate your life, and it isn't just on the fitness and nutrition side of things. Like, if you are diving into learning something and you're reading book upon book, you're going to burn out eventually because you're just diving in too deep. So you got to moderate how much you're consuming. It's easy to label it with nutrition because, oh, I'm having my Twinkies in moderation or my cheat meals in moderation. But if it leads to binge eating or you're not losing the weight like you want to, we need to look at what that moderation level is and see if it's proper enough for you.
Yeah, and Taylor, I wanted to ask you about the concept of accountability and how you look at holding yourself accountable and how you view accountability overall, my friend. So, what are your thoughts on accountability?
So accountability is huge, especially in this age where a lot of people are freelance or it's so easy to access certain things that if you don't have somebody kind of guiding you along, you could get misdirected or lost in your journey really quickly. So accountability, like hiring a coach, I had a track coach to make sure I was showing up to practice every day, doing the things that I needed to do based off of what they were saying, that using their education to help me advance faster, or having somebody guide you in the right direction in a mindfulness practice or something that might aid you in other areas of your life. So accountability for me is absolutely huge. It's it's something that took me a while to learn that I needed and other people needed, but it's the foundation of probably some of the most successful people in the world. And you can relate it this way, that you'll either pay with time or you'll pay with money. And when you pay with money, it's usually accountability to learn from a coach, and they're going to keep you on track to what you told them that you want to accomplish. When you pay with time, you have to learn yourself, and you might not learn the proper things or get misguided with too much information. So the accountability aspect of showing up day in and day out is huge for anybody in any type of journey. It doesn't matter what you want to do, but if you have somebody there to help you along or hold your hand or root for you, it is massive in creating more opportunities and success.
Yeah, and you talk about success, Taylor, and I believe that forming success starts with relationships. I believe that they're the heartbeat of life in forming connection and really relating with people. And I know you still coach athletes and anyone who wants to sort of develop the correct fitness or a personal or professional mindset, my friend. So tell me about your ability to create lasting relationships and really connect with people.
Yeah, relationships is huge. As humans, we are social creatures. If you can't connect with somebody and have a conversation, you're not going to be able to impact them or help them in any type of way. So I've learned through, I mean, I used to be super shy, super shy. I didn't want to talk to anybody. But when I started realizing when I would talk to people, I was forced to when I started working as a personal trainer, that everybody has a story. Some of them are pretty dang cool, and you can learn a lot from people, and they could also learn from you. So to create those relationships is what can really catapult you in a direction that you may not even have thought of in the past. And really taking the time to get to know somebody can give them so much fulfillment that somebody actually cares. If you listen and you're waiting for the next thing to say to them, you're not having a fruitful conversation. You need to be in it to learn about them and want to develop the relationship, whether if it's a friendship, a business development, if it's a fitness coach, if it's a romantic relationship, you need to be in tune with that person and listen to them rather than be looking at something else or like kind of just listening. But when you develop true relationships, those things compound on each other because they're going to tell other people how great you are, what a great listener you are, or the advice that you gave them, or whatever it might be. And you'll start to develop this circle of relationships that are extremely valuable in creating just goodness in the world, just like giving back value.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taylor, I'm a huge believer that life is filled with what I call moments of difference or impactful moments. So if I was to ask you to describe your impactful moment of difference up to this point into your life, tell me what do you think that moment would be and why?
So for me, in my profession, it's going into as a trainer, as a coach, right? And when I first started working as a personal trainer at a big box gym, I was coming in with my master's in kinesiology, so strength and conditioning focus. I had my CSCS certification, and they started handing me clients. I'm like, okay, cool, I got this, train them, yada yada, all that fun stuff. Well, then I started seeing other trainers coach people and was like, whoa, like hang on, like that's not good. Let's not do that. But I didn't have the confidence to tell them that. And I took what I had learned for granted, right? And I was like, wow, I need to teach as many people as possible how to move properly, how to eat right, how to think in a positive way, because we're not taught any of that. We're not taught how to eat right in school. If anything, it's super minimal. Our PE classes are getting cut left and right. The physical component of school is almost gone unless you're in sports. And we're not taught about finances either, but I can't help out with that too much. So a big component of my aha moment was seeing that these so-called educated people were putting other people at risk that were putting their complete faith in them. So I'm like, I need to help as many people as possible learn to move their body, learn what life has for them from multifaceted areas.
Yeah, and I believe that life, Taylor, is all about forming consequential habits because we prioritize the things in my judgment that are important to us. So, what do you think it goes into forming consequential habits that we can rely on both from a physical and a personal perspective? So, what's your view on creating great habits, my friends?
It's definitely the consistency of it. So if you want to do something, if you think about accomplishing a certain goal, my number one suggestion is to make a step that day to start working towards it. I don't care if it's writing it down or actually doing a physical action towards that. But to start developing that habit, you need to actually do it. So if you're constantly thinking about it, it's never going to come to fruition. People like to talk about the law of attraction and success and things like that. But if you only think about it, nothing's going to happen. You have to put those thoughts into action to make sure that you're developing the habits needed to create success or to create progress in your journey forward. It's not just oh, I think I should do this and like blindly go through a habit series. It's not going to stick. But if you become mindful of it and put it into action, write it down, take that physical step forward, that's where you can actually develop the habit that's long standing because you're resonating with it.
Yeah, and Taylor, tell me about some of your favorite moments as a track athlete, and what are some of the principles you've learned as an athlete that you still implement in your personal life to this point today?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I took away from my athletic career was just the sense of camaraderie and community on the track just every day. There's nothing like being surrounded by a bunch of other people who want success and are willing to put anything down to do as much as they can to succeed. And this goes on and off the track. There's people who are willing to sacrifice other things that weren't necessarily track related to get them better in the journey. And just being a part of a bunch of people that had that same vision is something that I really, really enjoyed and resonated with. So it's not particularly one instance, but it was multiple over the years of just like, we're here. Today is not the easiest day, but we're going to get it done because we have this greater vision. And that directs straight into regular life because you're constantly working towards something for a bigger vision. There's tiny, small goals every single day, like running on the track. I might have to run a 450 seconds 4 times with minimal rest because I want to run 46 seconds later in the year. So one small goal is leading up to that macro goal, and we can do that in life. So like we're coming up to the new year right now. 2024 is 3 days away, and a big part of setting up the new year is figuring out what you want to accomplish. And I think people should have been spending all of December actually doing that to get ready for 2024. Because if you don't have a plan of action, you're not going to have any actions to take when you actually want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you say that starting a fitness business while you were still training and as an athlete provided you still unique opportunities for growth and change, my friend. So tell me about those experiences and how you implemented growth and change in your own life.
Yeah, so being an athlete is a big level of dedication at the level I was training at. And then opening up a gym was another thing that most people do full time. So I was having to split time and energy in both ways. And I started to realize it's not the most sustainable thing. And there were sacrifices that I needed to make to actually accomplish both goals. With the business, I was new. I had to learn as much as possible. So the good thing with that was there wasn't too much physical unless I was training somebody. So I was able to rest a little bit while I was still sprinting hard. Now, as it grows and as you learn more, there's more to do in the business, having to be a little bit more present. And the body doesn't really delineate physical stress and mental stress very well. Overall, it's just stress to the body, unless it's the physical stress of like, doing bicep curls. So I started to get run down. And that's when I realized like, wow, this is a little bit tough to do on both sides of the world. But the gym actually gave me the opportunity to bring in my teammates during the pandemic, a facility that we had as a safe space, and to give back to them for everything that they had done for me, and just giving me the opportunity to help a little bit more. And then also eventually when we were able to open again, give back to the community to be successful in their own health and fitness journeys. It was a big journey overall, transitioning from full-time running and business into just straight business now. And a lot of it was just reallocating time. Like you have to have really good time management and the resiliency to get through it. Planning out your day, making sure that the non-negotiables are done, not sacrificing yourself and the relationships to accomplish those goals. And there's going to be different seasons in life where you can do multiple things, but there's generally a focus in a certain season of what you're really trying to go for. And I was trying to do two really big things at the same time, and that was not optimal. And eventually I was able to focus more on the business because I had to stop running, and things developed way faster in the business than they had ever done before. So those lessons are always translated into growth opportunities in the future.
We make time for the things we prioritize, right?
100%.
Absolutely. And, Taylor, you're the perfect person to ask about making a career transition because so many people have a vision of how they want their career to go, and so many people don't stay in one career for the rest of their working days. So, what do you think your advice would be for anyone making a career pivot? How do you think they can do it successfully?
If you have true passion for whatever it is that you're transitioning to, you'll be successful. It might not be easy at first, but if you stick your mind to it and dedicate what you want to accomplish and shift to, I think you can definitely do it. It's when you get wishy-washy and question yourself and then have those self-limiting beliefs and saying, what if this happens? Oh, what if I can't do this? That's where it might not happen. So you have to break that path and just commit to it. And that's where you'll be able to get the success that you're looking for as you shift in industries. And it is tough to do, but there's so many resources out there now, so many ways you can get help. I mean, you've got YouTube, you've got coaches you can hire, you can find mentors, find the friend that's in the field. As long as you have some connection in there and you have a deep passion and purpose for why you want to shift, then it should be no problem. It'll still be tough, don't get me wrong, but you're going to have a reason behind it rather than just doing it for. Sometimes people just do it for the monetary standpoint. That's where the burnout happens. So if you're shifting into a career that you love, it's been waiting for you. It's waiting for you. It wants you there. So get it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taylor, I'm going to combine my last two questions because they're interconnected. And I want to talk to you about the most important job you'll ever have, and that's being a dad and a husband, my friend. And how do you want that to be a part of your overall personal and professional legacy, my friend?
That's actually a great question because I've been thinking about it recently. I think being a husband goes very in line with being a father as well. And it's a relationship that is extremely important. For my wife and I have to support her in every way that I can, whether it's giving her space or giving her more support or helping her out in any type of journey that she's on. And by doing that, my daughter sees what I'm doing for my wife. And I want to exemplify what type of woman I want my daughter to grow up to be. So, fitness, health, relationships, everything that I do as a person, I want my daughter to see and strive to be. So she keeps me in check. Whether she doesn't know it yet, she's only 2.5, but everything that I do is to set an example for the things that I want her to be in the future. And I love my wife dearly, and the relationship that we have is super special. And my daughter sees that every single day, how important it is to support your spouse and also take care of yourself in every avenue of life. And there's going to be tough times, but it's not about the tough time and focusing on that. It's how you got through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, if you were being honest with yourself, if you go back 2.5 years ago, what would you tell yourself about being a father that you know now that you didn't know back then, my friend?
Change is okay, and the sacrifices are going to be small in the grand scheme of things. But don't sacrifice who you are as a person because your daughter is the person that you want her to be by showing her every day, day in and day out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Taylor, finally tell me if people want to get connected with the great work that you do, my friend, what's the most efficient way they can accomplish that objective, my friend?
Most efficient way to find me is going to be on Instagram. My handle is Tayro Runs. You can hit me up with a DM. I'm always on there chatting with people, just trying to help and support.
Well, fantastic. Well, Taylor, I have to tell you, I circled this interview on my calendar, my friend. I really enjoyed engaging in conversation about your athletic track career, your journey as a business owner, and as a dad and a husband, and everything in between, my friend. I want to thank you for the inroads of progress that you've made in the fitness industry and helping people become healthier and happier. And I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me, Kevin. I really enjoyed it. This was awesome.